Super Smash Bros. Melee has been played at a high level for over 2 decades now. New players, techniques, and even characters have risen to unthinkable heights over the years, but because of this rapid improvement, we're left with a pretty obvious question. Has Melee reached the ceiling? Well, no, not even close actually. Donkey Kong is a good character now. Ringler went Game 5 with Leffen last year and Zane this year, Kwang beat KJH and Asafai at Bodied, Akir beat Hungrybox 3-0 at a coin box, and Bing beat Cody Schwab, the #1 player in the world, at Gommel X earlier this year. And then we have Junebug. He was formerly known as the best Project M player in the world around 2015, and ironically, he played the secondary Kong protagonist, Diddy Kong. As his reign over the PM world began to transition over to Thunder's reign, a Donkey Kong player, it's perhaps fitting that Junebug took what was supposed to be a thought experiment for his YouTube channel and converted it into Donkey Kong's best tournament run in modern Melee. Oh, he also just won a tournament with Donkey Kong. Wait, what? How? We should probably talk about this one.
Hello, my name is Junebug. I've been playing Smash competitively for 16 years. I started with Brawl, and then I played Project M, and now I'm mainly playing Melee. And I play Donkey Kong.
Okay, so let's just get this part out of the way. Junebug is my friend, so there is a little bit of a layer of bias that comes with this, but I mean this fully when I say I truly believe he is one of the most multi-talented platform fighter players in Smash, especially across active players at least. Jun really has seen it all. He's considered one of the best Project M players of all time. He coached Zane at one point, which ultimately led to his massive success in Melee. And like I said before, he picked up DK in part for a YouTube video and just ended up becoming the current highest ranked Donkey Kong player in the world, finishing 2023 at number 40.
I was in the habit of doing a character video in Melee and comparing how that character would function to its PM counterpart. I believe I started with Roy, so I played Melee Roy for about a year, and then I compared him to how he worked in Project M. And then I did that for Ganondorf, I did that for Mewtwo, I did that for both the Marios. And when I got to DK, I was just having the most fun that I was having compared to all the other prior characters I had worked with. And I was also entering tournaments. The last ones, I didn't really enter as much tournaments. I think I entered like a local with Mewtwo once, and I entered Double Down with Dr. Mario, just sort of on a whim. But yeah, I was just playing a lot more Donkey Kong and sort of enjoying that, and doing better and better. And at a certain point, the video was done, so there was no continued reason to play Donkey Kong except for the enjoyment. And by that point, I had already built up so much momentum that I was like, okay, might as well stick around with Donkey Kong. It's been fun. It continues to be fun.
So while I can sing the praises of this dude all day, it should come as no surprise to anyone in the Melee community when I say that Junebug is really, really good at the game. Donkey Kong, however, was not perceived as good for a very long time, not even close. The first official Melee tier list in 2002 placed Donkey Kong at 20th out of 26th on the roster, so a pretty bad character. And funnily enough, at 19th sat Yoshi, who in 2022 won 3 majors through the capable hands of Amsa. I mean, hell, even Jigglypuff and Captain Falcon were ranked at number 17 and 15. Wait, Mario is a top 5 character? What? What am I doing? What am I doing with my life? But the question remains, why and how did this character even start becoming relevant? Of course, with players like Hungrybox and Amsa getting results with Puff and Yoshi, their rise through the tier list was bound to happen. But DK really didn't have many representatives, period, and the character was in a really weird place of existing almost entirely in its own bucket, the closest thing Smash had to a grappler. Even in Smash 64 released in 1999, DK was a big, relatively slow, and easy to combo character. He had a huge set of hurt boxes which allowed his opponents a greater margin of error, with the idea that his range and ability to almost skip neutral off of a single grab could offset that horrible disadvantage. DK's unique mechanic in cargo throw opened the door to many possibilities, but only if he was first able to find that grab, and much like Melee's Ice Climbers, finding that first grab could be a tall order at times. This resulted in many top DKs referring to the character as more of a hybrid between a grappler and a zoner, being able to use Donkey Kong's strong range with moves like back air to fend off approaches until he could transition into big punishes off of cargo throw. Actually, the original DK that made headlines was actually Captain Jack, being one of the first ever players to show just how good the Apes Punish game could be on a stage like Final Destination. After that, and in the early 2000s, we had Bum, standing for Big Ugly Monster, apparently because he only played heavies in every fighting game. He would net the highest placement a Donkey Kong has ever seen to this day, with a 4th place at MLG Long Island 2007. Included in this run were wins over old titans of the game like Isaiah and Chudat, and Bum even picked up wins in his Melee tenure over then top 10 to 20 players of the era like J-Man, PC Chris, KDJ, and Cactuar. Around that same 2007 to 2009 period came Mexican, who got a 13th at the Stacked Event Super Champ combo, but never really made it to the big stage after that. And in the 2010s, players like Green Ranger, Fishit, Ringler, and Mo began to make a name for themselves with the character as well. But it wasn't really until the 2020s when the so-called Donkey Kong Renaissance began, which included exceptional performances from players like Junebug. A 13th place at the Big House 11 with wins over Sirmiris, Ginger, and Magi more or less solidified him as the new leader of the bunch, going down as one of the best singles performances from a DK player since the days of Bum. Jun initially started his Melee career as a Sheik main, with ironically one of his worst losses coming by the hands of NJ's Finest, another old school DK player. But I think Jun's start as a Sheik main was at least somewhat helpful in his transition to a quote-unquote worse character, since he already knew how to simplify his punish, especially off of a grab.
I just knew how Donkey Kong was supposed to function because of my experience with PM and Thunders and the whole community. And then playing like a weaker version in Melee, even though he was weaker, I still, to this day, think he's a very strong character.
Again, for as much as the community might have downplayed this character initially, DK's got some pretty absurd stuff. His up air is an insanely easy B&B off cargo throw, hits absurdly fast on frame 6 and can auto-cancel after frame 12. It links into itself practically forever, sends at favorable heights where you can set up either true follow-ups or mix-ups with platforms, or off of a jump cargo throw. Up B is disgustingly good. It's active on frame 3 if grounded and frame 2 in the air. The aerial version is invulnerable on his arms for a large duration of the move for some reason, and it can do a silly amount of damage. And of course, Giant Punch. Some tech like the 9-wine has been found where the punch actually does more knockback when it has 9 wines instead of the full 10. You can even hit with the wrong sour spot hitbox of the move to find cheeky kills off the top, and yes, a lot of this can convert off of, you guessed it, cargo throw. So yeah, that's an incredibly abridged explanation of why Donkey Kong can be a strong character, but if you want to get the full story, you should check out Wustoon's documentary on the ape, or Junebug's own character breakdown which created this monster in the first place. Alright, so now let's talk about Patchwork. Taking place on July 6th to 7th over in Raleigh, North Carolina, Patchwork was largely meant as an ultimate event, but it did pull just over 100 entrants for Melee singles. My main man Awesome Sauce just posted a video which talks about some of DK's big wins in this new revolution of the character, and he did add an addendum to address Jun's win here, but I'll let him talk for a sec.
While did win that big tournament bodied 7 in May, fellow Donkey Kong player Junebug just won Patchwork 2024, an arguably slightly more prestigious tournament. Beat Ossify twice to win the tournament, who is probably top 20 in the world, while Junebug beat Salt twice, who is possibly top 10. Anyway, both incredible achievements, both really good for the game. I'd wager the vast majority of people interested in Melee like seeing the meta shake up like this, but I just wanted to quickly update.
Now, I would argue Jun's win at Patchwork is slightly better than Kwang's at Bodied because of the skew of unfavorable matchups Jun had to play, but here's a quick refresher on his bracket if you don't know what happened. In top 24, Junebug qualified for top 8 with a 3-0 over Crike, then lost to Salt 3-1 in winter semis before beating Calvar 3-0, Crike again 3-1, and Maelstrom 3-1 to make it into Grands. He then beat Salt in 2 sets, first 3-1 and then 3-0 to take, in my opinion, Donkey Kong's most impressive tournament win. The big matches I want to look at here are Jun versus Crike and Jun versus Salt. Salt is the number 14th ranked player in the world and the second highest ranked Captain Falcon in the world behind only Wizrobe, who by the way just won CEO like a week before that, so drop a comment if you want to see a video on that run as well. And oh, by the way, if you made it this far into this video, please make sure you're subscribed. Yeah, woo, we're doing this thing. Okay, I work really hard on these videos, and a lot of people watch them without ever realizing that they aren't subscribed. Many of these videos have honestly hundreds of hours put into them, sometimes across multiple people, so if you do want to support me and help make more videos like these possible, I'd really appreciate it. If you did just subscribe, the good thing is you won't regret it, because now I get to talk about how June's bracket was actually pretty bad. I mean, it definitely wasn't easy by any means. Crike went Ice Climbers into June, which other DK mains have mentioned as a struggle matchup, and June had to play 3 sets against Salt's Falcon, which June himself considers another problem matchup for the Ape. What's funny about watching Junebug's DK play now versus around when he started using the character for that YouTube video is in just how much he actually kind of became a DK main. It's a bit of a played out statement at this point, but when June first started playing Donkey Kong, he was, in my opinion, more of a good player in a bad character trenchcoat, who leaned more into his incredibly strong game sense rather than any DK specific movement or tech that players like Akir, Da, Mo, and Ringler were leveraging. In a lot of those M-Series regionals that June was entering like a year ago, he would just live forever on account of DK's ludicrously heavy weight and could clutch out big moments. Now, of course, that's not to say that June was bad with DK. I think even back then he was pretty studied on the character. Unfortunately, that doesn't really matter if you run into problem matchups like June did at Patchwork. Let's first look at Game 1 of June's loser semi set versus Crike as an example. This first note should be pretty obvious to anyone who knows Crike, and that's that Crike is not an Ice Climbers player. And also, this matchup is bad, like really bad. Even PPMD and HBox, 2 of the gods of Melee, brought it up on their stream.
Normally it's like the same matchup, whatever, but dude, it's Ice Climbers versus Donkey Kong. It doesn't even matter if Crike like really plays Ices or not. Like, who cares? It's Ices Donkey Kong.
The only completely horrible dog shit matchup this character has is Sheik and Ices. Yeah, Sheik and Ices. Every other character, it's just doable, you know?
Now, in fairness, Crike has been working on Ices as a legitimate secondary, but what exactly makes this matchup so rough for Donkey Kong, so much so that Crike would switch characters to play it? Well, let's start with the obvious. It's technically 2v1. 2 fast burst movement ground-based characters against 1 big slow monkey. And big really is the problem here too, especially when it comes to the Ice Climber's sometimes tricky handoff technique. Check these charts out, courtesy of Leaf SSBM on Twitter. These are all of the tournament legal stages in Melee with indicators for how Nana's AI functions when Popo gets a grab. The orange and purple markers are distances for covering back throw and down throw handoffs where Nana will convert that into a standard ledge handoff, but let's focus on the big lines here. Light blue means Nana is guaranteed to forward throw if she's facing left, red means she's guaranteed to forward throw if she's facing right, and green is an area where if you forward throw with Popo, it will position Nana into a guaranteed handoff. What gives the Ices handoff some finality to it though is the fact that with each recursion of the handoff, you have to move slightly forward each time and you'll eventually run out of stage or platform. More often than not, the Ice Climbers player can just wrap up the stock early enough, but it still does put a bit of a limiter on how far the handoff can be taken. Because DK is so big though, the Ice Climbers never have to move forward and have a functional infinite off of a single grab depending on their positioning. You do still have to get the timing correct to connect the handoff, but it's always a rather lenient 4-frame window regardless of DI because the monkey is just so huge, and it only drops to a 3-frame window on all DI after 100%. Staying on grab, Sopo can chain grab DK from 0 to 62% on DIN and until 122% with a dash regrab or 126% with a wave dash regrab if he DIs out, which can often get the DK close enough for an up smash kill off the top. Ice Climbers are really good at dealing with most of DK's approaches, and conventionally you can blizzard camp them and play it as a worse version of Sheik Ices, and that horrible disadvantage that DK has holds true across the entire cast for the record. The Climber's combination of Blizzard and Ice Block often forces DK into the air, which reduces his options down to things like Bear, Stomp, Giant Punch, or Jump Away, which can all kind of be punished with Grab. Kind of's important here, I'll get back to that in a second. Also, look at this. DK gets hit here because his stupid tie has a hurt box. What a stupid, dumb character, but yeah, all in all, it's not a great matchup. The DKs have been labbing some stuff though, and to list off a couple, Giant Punch is actually essentially always safe due to Icy's low traction value, so even on block, the Ice Climbers can't wave dash in and get a punish in time. And we have the Kidnap.
One of my favorite techs in the Donkey Kong Ice Climbers matchup is kidnapping Nana. Nana does not mash, so you can keep her in cargo throw indefinitely. You grab Nana, walk across the stage, and then you toss Nana off the other side of the stage. And if you toss her far enough, she cannot double jump back to the stage, or you can up B her double jump.
Okay, so technically Crike could wave dash a teensy bit faster and longer to catch up to June here, but in this exact scenario, it did look pretty hopeless. The other saving grace in this matchup for DK is that if DK cargo throws the backup climber, they just die. Jump cargo throw forward throw will always move Nana too far away from the ledge where she either can't jump back or the DK's up B just clips the double jump and puts her into tumble, and we see that here. Crike has to spend the belay to save Nana, but this actually just delays the inevitable since Popo is in too much end lag to respond to June's punish. With only Sopo on the board alongside June with a stock lead, June can even kinda take his time on this stock, not securing the kill with cargo throw up air, but taking that extra time to wind up the punch once again. When Crike lands on that right side, he's pretty much dead no matter which way you cut it. Like I said before, Giant Punch is quite literally always safe against Ices, and at that stage positioning with Crike facing towards the ledge, even blocking it would have pushed him off stage without any recourse to grab the ledge. Anyway, last thing I want to bring up before we talk about Falcon, and that's down B. The DK hand slap is actually like deceptively good, especially in this matchup. We've seen June use it to great effect against low traction characters like Luigi in the past to deal with wave dash in, but even in his character breakdown, he talks about how this move is the equivalent of having 4 multi-shining Falcos covering all sides of this enormous character. In this set against Crike, almost any time June has a good amount of space and doesn't want to charge punch, he'll go for down B. Look at this stock from game 3. June goes for the down B in center, which is again deceptively safe. Since Crike is facing forward, he can't act fast enough to wave dash in and fair over the down B hitbox, so he ice blocks instead. In this situation, June uses the super long button from down B as a bait to intentionally take a hit and act out of it for position. He jumps almost immediately following the ice block hit, and Crike desyncs his Nana into a blizzard, which I don't think is exactly wrong here, but it allows June to snag a cheeky Giant Punch and kill the Nana as a result. Which, once again, Giant Punch is safe, so even on block, it's just at worst a reset. From there, you still face the struggle of a Sopo getting chain grabs on a DK, but the outplay to force a solo climber here cannot be understated. It's such a strong understanding of neutral tools on a character who's known for having a notoriously weak neutral and disadvantage, and June uses DK's entire kit to wonderful effect here. Alright, so now we can talk about the other problematic matchup Junebug ran into at Patchwork, and that's Captain Falcon. What's funny about this matchup is that Falcon also underwent a similar rise courtesy of the 20GX movement, so to see a similar surge of DK placing highly and performing well makes for an interesting parallel.
It sort of feels like the 20GX movement, where you had like Gatsu, Gravy, Wizzy, just all pushing this character together. The 20DK movement is just, you know, me, Quang, Akir, Mo, Da, and many other DKs just also being able to develop the character.
Regardless though, Junebug did have a good showing versus None at the Big House 11, taking him to game 5, but Salt is honestly a DK slayer.
I think my strength as a player has always been my neutral game, whether it comes from Brawl or playing, you know, Project M's Diddy, who's a zoner. I actually think my punish game is not as good as some of the other top Donkey Kongs, which is kind of funny because Donkey Kong is the punish character. But I think some of the other top Donkey Kongs are a little more consistent when it comes to that. A lot of the matchups that I kind of pioneered were a little more slower neutral matchups, like Jigglypuff, Peach, which is why it's interesting that I did well against Captain Falcon, because that matchup is not slow at all. It's a very fast-paced matchup.
Not including this weekend, Salt has an 81.82% win rate versus Donkey Kong, which includes a 100% win rate versus Bing, the player who beat the #1 player Cody Schwab just a couple months ago, and a 79% win rate versus Akir, the global rank 90 and one of 3 Donkey Kong mains to have made it onto the top 100 in 2023. Also not included in this stat spread are the numerous times Salt had played and won against Ringler at M&M's in 2023, but all of that is to say Salt is very good against this character. Also, real quick, I know this is a video about Junebug, but I gotta say this reversal by Salt is truly one of the sickest things I've seen this year, so yeah, enjoy that. Anyway, this is not even mentioning, by the way, that Falcon absolutely destroys Donkey Kong. Junebug considers Sheik alongside Falcon and Ices to be some of DK's hardest matchups, and it makes sense as to why. Sheik, Falcon, and Ices are characters with some of the hardest punishes on DK, especially off of grabs. This leads us to matchups where both characters just love grabbing at each other, but in most cases DK's opponents will have significantly better neutral than Donkey Kong, which is where things begin to skew in the other character's favor.
Grabs are pretty huge for both characters in that matchup, but it's much easier to grab when you're the faster character, and it's much easier to get grabbed when you're the bigger character. Donkey Kong has to do a lot of tricky movement, dashes, wave dashes. I was doing like crouch and then backdash at a crouch a lot. Anything that I could do to sort of mix up where I might be. And dealing with Falcon's undershoot aerials, which Salt was doing a lot of, and dealing with Falcon's overshoot aerials, which most Falcons tend to do. So yeah, it's mainly those three like concepts, like playing around undershoot aerials, playing around dash up grab, and playing around overshoot aerials.
So in a bad matchup like Captain Falcon and versus a player like Salt, Junebug points out 3 keys to success: playing around the grab, playing around undershoot aerials, and playing around overshoot aerials. The first set of grants is a great example of June playing to these 3 win cons. Check it out, it's game 4 of the first set and June is about to reset the bracket. Salt gets the action started with a stomp to grab, but June pre-mashes on the second grab to get an air release, which mitigates the punish and lets June weave around an edge guard to return safely. He's still below 100%, so DK get-up attack from ledge is relatively safe and can reverse the stage positioning, so now that June has escaped disadvantage, he can watch for those 3 points once again. He reacts to an overshoot here and is able to dash underneath Salt's nair, but what's more important here is he's constantly presenting the crouch, which allows him to CC that second hit of nair until just below 100%. In an ideal position, this would put June in a spot where he can tank a lazy approach, find a grab, and then go to work. We see another overshoot attempt at 450, this time with a knee that sails over Junebug's head, and the platform movement from FOD also plays a bit of an assisting role. After a tech flub from Salt, June now has position underneath platform, which is ideal for an up air follow-up, as the up air auto-cancels after frame 12 and can cover a shield drop by linking that into the absurdly fast grounded up B. This ultimately leads to a huge punish string, where because June is still rather low percent, he can still continue the punish even if he gets a knockdown, and he's able to take this one all the way to reset the bracket. Every single thing about this sequence felt like it was playing into June's Falcon mantras. Play around the grab, play around the undershoot, and play around the overshoot. Now, of course, there is a bit of an RPS where Salt can look to incorporate more grabs and stomps to try to play around the crouch, but with how good of a burst movement option overshoot nair can be, I don't blame Salt for moving in on it. June pays close attention to percents here, knowing he can CC lazy nairs for a while, can get up attack below 100% to escape the corner, and can CC a missed tech get up attack from Salt if he can't extend a true string. And by the way, technically, June can also up B overshoot nair on reaction, or even ASDI down and up B between the hits of the nair, which he mentions later that day, but we didn't see it much or at all here, to be honest. Either way though, this was a great highlight of how playing around your own and your opponent's win conditions can turn into game-winning opportunities for a player. I talked to Chef Rock, like the encyclopedia of Falcon knowledge, and he pointed out the big issues when it comes to this matchup. He says that Falcon can compete with DK in terms of reward off of a single opening, hence the everyone grabs in this matchup statement, but the Falcon's neutral advantage is a problem for DK. Falcon Nair in particular is a huge issue against the Ape, even though I mentioned CC percents before, because DK has no forward-facing moves that can contest with Nair, and DK's CC grab is actually slower than almost the rest of the cast, coming out on frame 8 instead of the bulk of the cast having a frame 6 standing grab. Spacing the Nair means grab just won't even work anyways, so this results in June needing to force these quote-unquote bad Nairs from Salt, which given her experience in the matchup, can be rare. Sometimes the DK can try to bear to try to challenge the Nair in, but that presents a new RPS where the Falcon can CC dash grab or even just dash dance grab raw to bait out the challenge. Chef Rock says it's pretty low risk, high reward for Falcon in almost any neutral interaction, while DK needs to be correct in their guesses way more often. So that being said, much like against the Ice Climbers, the DKs have started to implement some stuff to combat this matchup. Foremost among them, focusing on staying grounded while using ASDI down and shield to play a counter hit game. This changes Falcon's matchup slanting Nair from a grab to knee setup into a spacing tool, and thus increases its risk reward. Now, ASDI down is pretty normal counterplay for any character facing Falcon in 2024, or any character facing any character for that matter, but the DKs have also added dash, short hop, fast fall, auto cancel, up air as an unreactable burst option if the Falcon tries to play back and wall out. We mentioned how good up air is on this character, but the biggest value add it has in this matchup and in this position is to break the stalemate and force the Falcon to act, which then opens the door to DK's counterplay options. The final problem in this matchup comes from just how much Falcon gets off of throws. Falcon's up throw is a weight-independent throw, meaning the throw animation is the same for all characters. For a weight-dependent throw, such as Fox up throw, heavier characters will play through the animation more slowly, while lighter characters will be thrown faster, which is why follow-ups off of throws like these can vary by matchup. Falcon has to tech chase DK with down throw at low percents, so DKs have now started to implement wake up B as a way to combat that and force an earlier up throw to follow up aerials instead. It's also worth mentioning that DKs will always have good punish and edge guard against Falcon, a character notoriously good at getting punished and edge guarded. So while it's still one of DK's harder matchups, it's definitely been worked on. Look at how much work forcing those bad nairs from Salt do in the first game of the reset. Jun gets knocked down in the corner here, and Salt wants to punish the missed tech with an up air, but it misses. Salt jumps a bit early to nair the getup, but Jun dashes forward just a little bit to make that high nair very, very poorly spaced, which nets an easy shield grab. It's a pretty standard DK punish from here for about 40% before the reset to neutral, but the dash in from Salt gets clipped once again by Jun preemptively bearing. Salt tries to nair from the corner to re-establish some positioning, but Jun stays in place and rips the giant punch he charged earlier to just take the stock and game outright. So much of this may look like Junebug just straight up outplaying Salt in these micro positions, and trust me, some of it is. But Jun mentions in the post-tournament interview how much damage Salt's undershoot nair was leading to, and how he decided to just not deal with it anymore. But to this point, a big thing Chef brings up for this matchup is in the way Jun represents these neutral tools like dash dance, crouch, bair to contest space, undershoot nair, and the short hop fast fall auto cancel up air to almost persuade Salt into ripping an unsafe nair. At different points in the set, we even see Salt start nairing forward as a result of these options, namely the up air, and that micro ultimately allows Jun to find the outplay. The final game of the tournament had really one of the most insane sequences I've seen in a hot minute. Junebug goes in with that approaching up air we mentioned earlier, planning for Salt to undershoot an aerial, and Salt barely whiffs a grab. She goes for the undershoot this time, now answered by Jun's dash dance, and it's a couple seconds of neutral wall out. Junebug did start doing run-up down tilt as another way to close distance and punish these short nairs from Salt, and here he gets one and tries to stuff a counter aerial with back air, but it misses thanks to a quick double jump from the Falcon. Salt finally gets the real action going with a crouch grab as Jun once again looks for the aerial to counter with his up air, and at 0%, Salt kind of needs to down throw and get a tech chase. Junebug misses the tech and gets jab reset, but he's only at 11%. He can crouch cancel this incoming knee for a while, and it won't knock down even off of an attempted crouch cancel plus ASDI down until 42%, so he's able to get a shield grab out as Salt wave dashes forward to also try to grab. Jun can go to work for a while now, opting to reset on top platform to tech chase and get an even bigger punish, and he gets close to a full stock for it, going coast to coast. On the right side, Salt is able to return to stage and reverse the situation with a nair, and a stomp can potentially just kill DK outright if they don't close to instantly meteor cancel. But of course, Junebug gets that too and contests the ledge with the multi-hit up B. He gets put off stage a second time, this time on the left side, and another stomp is foiled by a very clutch wall tech, but Randall was also there to potentially help out. DK's up B is so strong in both recovery positions that Salt just has to respect Jun coming back, so she retakes some stage and finally comes in with that unsafe nair on block, which Jun can easily punish with one more spinning Kong for the road. From there, it was just a matter of spin to win and one final kidnap to close out what I think is Donkey Kong's biggest tournament win.
And you kidnapped! That's it! Junebug just kidnapped Salt to win the tournament!
After coming from losers, the Donkey Kong takes a 3-0 after a bracket reset. Absolutely
What a monstrous victory! The DK pose, the roar! King Kong just beat Godzilla!
A big thing for me that has made me stick with Donkey Kong is I have so many more fans now. I used to nobody was rooting for the Junebug sheep. So it's just crazy to have even though I was the second seed at this tournament, or essentially the second seed because everybody dropped out of Patchwork, people were cheering for me when I beat Calvar, when I beat Crike, when I beat Maelstrom, all the underdogs, by the way. I was getting cheered for versus the underdogs, and then I was getting cheered for versus Salt, who has one of the most flashy, crazy playstyles of all times. I was getting cheered for when I was playing Nun. I was getting cheered for when I was playing Magi. All these crowd favorites are getting swallowed by the cheers of just monkey go. this monkey could do it. And that's been really, really exciting and exhilarating for me.
I think so many people are quick to write off characters based on their perceived goodness that we get off of a tier list, but if anything, we may want to be keeping a closer look at that to find the next big trend. Melee is over 20 years old, and we're still getting players like Amsa winning majors with Yoshi, players like Wizrobe showing that Falcon probably shouldn't have been 15th on the first tier list, and players like Junebug taking home massive victories in matchups once considered to be close to impossible. Junebug is great at keeping his composure, and you couple that with his incredibly high game knowledge and strong ability to look at the game through an analytical lens, and I think it's those factors that really separate him from the rest of the DK crew, at least for now. But even if you completely disregard Junebug's skill, it doesn't change the fact that DK just won a Melee tournament in 2024, and that's pretty wild. When it comes to this surge of Donkey Kong in the current meta, whether you call it history made or history in progress is up to you. But one thing is for certain, Junebug and the DKs are here to stay. And you better know the leader of the bunch well, because after 20 years, he is finally back to kick some tail.
They not like us, they not like us, they not like us. Once upon a time, all of us was in chains. Homie still double down, calling us some slaves. Atlanta was the mecca, building railroads and trains. Bear with me for a second, let me put y'all on game.
That's all I got. I do need you to do your best CTA, like, comment, and subscribe. I know you got one in the back right there, so.
Boys, it's TurndownforWalt here. I love money. Please, please subscribe, comment, engage. I have a Patreon, I think. Give me money so I can continue doing this. Please, please give me money.
Oh my god. I mean, yeah, it's good. Let's run it.
Yeah, run it.
Good. One take. All right. Oh man.
He a fan, he a fan, he a fan, he a fan, he a
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been itching to do another deep dive. I think the last time I did one of these was like Zane winning Genesis 7 like 4 years ago, so I'm glad I got to go back to a format that I really like doing, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. This channel is funded by my Patreon, and if you want to be a producer of the channel and help me be able to do this even more often, you can join over at the link in the description. Over there you'll gain access to some sweet bonus content like the interview I shot with Armada for my last documentary. Thanks to all my patrons who help make videos like these possible, especially Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Bold Italics, Erica is Cool, and NNG Esports. Let me know what you think of the video. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these, so I want to make sure I'm doing them right, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I'm still working towards 100K, and that would be amazing to get in this year if we can pull that off. Okay, that's it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.